Bonjour, bienvenue à Lingorelic Language Academy. Today's session is going to be dedicated to verbs, how you conjugate them, how you pronounce them, and how do you put them correctly in sentences. But before we proceed, I am going to talk to you about the subject pronouns, les pronoms sujets en français, which are basically the doer of the action, as in these are the words according to which you are going to conjugate your verb each time in the sentence. So first of all, you have je, which is I, which is the first person singular pronoun. Secondly, you have tu, which is the informal form to say you. This is the second person singular pronoun. Thirdly, you have il, which means he. Elle is for she, and on for one, which you're saying in a general sense. I'll just elaborate upon it a little bit ahead. Then you have nous. Nous means we, which is a first person plural form. Then you have vous. Vous is to say you, that is formal, and second person singular plural, depending on the context, whether you're talking to just one person or you're talking to more than one persons. And finally, there is il and elle, which is both used for they. This is for third person plural. Let's elaborate a little bit upon the pronoun on, which literally means one. But this is usually translated by an indefinite subject, such as, you have everyone or someone or people in a general context, or, saying they or you. So like in English, when you say one should consider, one should go, one should not do this, one should. So in this context, in French, you can use on. And another way to use on is to use it as a replacement to nous, when nous is a formal pronoun, whereas on is more of an informal way to say nous. So when you say on parle français ici, is to say that French is spoken here, or we speak French here. Another pronoun is il, and one more is elle. Il pluriel is for they when it is used for a masculine group or for a mixed group. That means when there are males and females both. Whereas elle is used only for feminine groups. Now let's proceed. We are going to talk about verbs. Verbs are basically what? Verbs are action words, and without these your sentences would be absolutely incomplete. In this session today, I'm only going to take up in consideration the simple present and the present continuous tenses in French, and these are both same in French. You need to understand this, that the structure for these two tenses is the same. So if you want to say I speak, or if you want to say I am speaking, je parle. So in English, we tend to learn two different tenses, two separate tenses to understand these structures, to make these structures. But in French, it is easier. You just have to learn one kind of structure, and all you have to do is conjugate the main verb according to the subject pronoun or the subject noun. So in French, to say I speak or I am speaking, you would be saying just the exact same thing, je parle. Now students ask me that je parle if I want to mean I'm speaking, and what if the other person understands it as I speak? The thing is that through our context of the conversation, it is understandable. Right now, what you're understanding is the structure in segments. However, when everything falls into perspective, when you actually do a full-fledged conversation and you are able to understand what context the conversation is happening in. So now I would like to talk to you about regular verbs in French, and you need to first understand that in French there are three categories of verbs. The first one being the ER group verbs, second one being IR group verbs, and the third one being RE group verbs. So when I say this, what I mean to say is that each and every base verb or the infinitive verb in French will have the ending ER or IR or the RE in its end. There is no fourth type of ending. In the base form, these are the only three types of endings that are possible. You will never ever see an infinitive verb in French which has a fourth kind of ending other than these three. So each verb within its respective category, it follows the same rules of conjugation. Now let's also understand the concept of conjugation. What is conjugation? What does it mean to conjugate a verb? So when in English you say I do, you do, but he, she does. So why are we using does with it is because the grammatical rule for the conjugation of this verb is fixed like that. So I did not fix it. It is the way it has been fixed in language, and we have to accept it the way it is. Similarly, in French, you have rules of conjugation of verbs according to their subject. So here in French, you have an easier way to remember the conjugations of most of the verbs, when they are regular verbs. For example, if you have an ER group verb, what you will do is just learn the pattern of conjugation of one verb, and you will be able to learn every single verb of this category because it will follow the same exact pattern. Now let's understand how to conjugate an ER group verb. Now to conjugate this, what you need to do is just take the full verb, remove the ER ending from it, and whatever remains in the spelling is called the radical, le radical, and this radical will now need to be put with all the pronouns je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, elle in a sequence, just like it was explained to you before. So you put these radicals, this radical with all of the pronouns, and now you have to put specific endings to each of the forms. So for je, the ending is E. For tu, the ending is ES. For il, the ending is E. For nous, it is ONS. Then for vous, it is EZ. And for il and elle plural, you have ENT. These endings, again, I did not decide. These are the endings that have been fixed as a rule in grammar, and hence you have to learn them, you have to accept them. So now, if you have to, for example, conjugate a verb which is from the ER ending verbs, a regular verb from the ER group, for example, take parler, which means to speak, all you need to do is that first you will remove this ER ending from the verb, and you are left with PARL. This PARL you will put with all of the pronouns. Please remember to put the pronouns in the same sequence and not alter it, otherwise your endings will fall in the wrong sequence. Hence, you put them as je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, elle. And so you have the radical followed by the same endings that I just gave you. Here you have E, this is ES, this is again E, this is ONS, this is EZ, and this is ENT. So let's pronounce this together and then understand what this means. So you have je parle, tu parles, il, elle, on parle, nous parlons, vous parlez, il, elle parle. So one thing very important that I would like to highlight at this point is the pronunciation of each of these conjugations. So a lot of students tend to mispronounce it in the manner that with je, they tend to pronounce it as je parle. It's wrong. You have to just end the sound at le and you have to pronounce it as je parle. Similarly, you have tu parle here and it's not parler. This S, the E and the S both are silent here. Then you have il, elle, on, parle again. Then nous, you will pronounce it as parlons, ONS, nous parlons. Then you have vous parlez. And finally, you have il parle, NT silent, and elle parle. So no matter whether or not the spellings are same or different, but a lot of times in French, you will see that the words will be pronounced just the same way. And you can also remember it this way, that these three, je, tu, and il, elle, on, these will sound the same. They will be sounded as parle, and the last one is going to be sounded as parle as well. So this one is nous parlons and this one is vous parlez. So you're absolutely required to pronounce these forms correctly. You cannot mispronounce them as je parle, tu parles. That would be wrong. That would automatically change the tense into past, which is another tense which will be discussed in another video. So now let's understand the meaning of each of these forms. So I already mentioned to you that I speak and I am speaking both in French mean the same exact thing. Now you have tu parles, which means you speak, whereas it also means you are speaking. Now you have il and elle and on. So here with this, you're going to pronounce it as parle, and this means he, she speaks, or he or she is speaking, which is to say, again, simple present and present continuous, just the same. Nous parlons, we speak, we are speaking, both of these. Vous parlez, you speak, you are speaking, both of these. And finally, il, elle parle, they speak and they are speaking, both of these forms. Now let's discuss the second largest group of verbs, which is the IR ending verbs. So for the regular group, all you need to do is just remove the IR and put these specific endings. Again, you need to memorize them. The endings go like this: IS, again IS, then you have IT, you have ISSONS, you have ISSEZ, and you have ISSENT. And so let's look at an example. Here you have the group IR ending verb, finir. So all you need to do to conjugate this verb is that you remove the IR ending of this verb, you obtain the radical, which is FIN, you put it with all of the pronouns here in sequence again, and je finis, because you put the IS ending, and the pronunciation je finis. Similarly, for tu also, you're going to pronounce it as fini, tu finis. Il, elle, on finit, nous finissons. Vous finissez. Ils finissent. Elles finissent. Let's do this conjugation once again. Je finis. Tu finis. Ils, elles ont fini. Nous finissons. Vous finissez. Ils, elles finissent. So when you look at this conjugation here, you have is, which is silent. S is silent here. Tu finis, again the S is silent. Ils, elles ont fini, the T is silent. Nous finissons. Please pay attention. I'm saying finissons. The double S is going to be sounded as se, and ONS is on. Then vous finissez. Again, double S is sounded as se, and EZ is the sound of A. Finally, you have ils, elles finissent. The reason why I'm pronouncing it as is because ISS is is, and NT again is going to be kept silent here. So let's understand the meaning of this now. Je finis would mean I finish, and also it would mean I am finishing, because this is the same rule valid for this group as well. The simple present and the present continuous are the same in French. Then you have tu finis, which means you finish, you are finishing. Il, elles ont fini, he, she finishes, he, she is finishing. Nous finissons, we finish, we are finishing. Vous finissez, you finish, you are finishing. And ils, elles finissent, that means they finish and they are finishing. Now let's talk about the smallest group of the verbs in French. You have RE ending verbs. So for this, the specific endings after removing the RE ending are S and then again S for tu. For il, elle and on, you do not put any ending. There is only the radical after removing the RE. That's the only conjugation, but you do not put any ending here. Next would be ONS. With vous, it is EZ. And with il and elle pluriel, it's ENT. Did you notice something? Here, in the ER group verbs, the last three endings, and the RE group verbs, the last three endings, they are just the same. As for the IR group verbs, the endings are pretty much the same. All you need to do is you have to put ISS in front of all of these three. Let's look at an example. So you have an RE group ending verb, which is vendre. Vendre means to sell. And now to conjugate this verb, all you need to do is you will remove the RE ending. You will put VEND, and after that you will put the endings as specified. The je ending is S, hence it becomes a je vends. Please pay attention here that this is not sounded as je vende, because the D and the S both are consonants, and hence this will remain silent. You have to pronounce it as je vends instead of je vende. Then you have tu vends. Instead of saying tu vendes, you have to say tu vends. Next is il, elles, ont. You have to say vend again with it. So the D will remain silent since it is a consonant in the end. Next would be nous vendons. Nous vendons with D and then ONS. Vous vendez. Vous vendez with an EZ ending. And lastly, you have il, elles vendent. Il, elles vendent with an ENT ending, and again reminding you that the ENT will remain silent here, and all you have to do is pronounce it as vende. This one will have the sound of the in it. Let's understand the meaning of this now. Je vends means I sell, I am selling. Tu vends, you sell, you are selling. Il, elle en vend, he, she sells, he, she is selling. Nous vendons means we sell, we are selling. Vous vendez means you sell, you are selling. Ils, elles vendent means they sell and they are selling. That's it. That's how you conjugate the verbs from the ER ending, IR ending and RE ending verbs. Let's again quickly look at all of the endings here for the three groups. So for the largest group of French verbs, you have ER ending verbs. The endings are E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, ENT. In French, you can even pronounce them as ES, ONS, EZ, ENT. Next would be the second largest group, which is IR ending verbs. So you have the endings IS, IT, ISS, ONS, ISS, EZ, and ISS, ENT. In French, you could also say ES, ES, ET, ESSONS, ESSEZ, ESSENT. Now the smallest group, which is the RE ending verbs, here the endings would be S, again S, then nothing, then ONS, then EZ, and then ENT. So in French, you can even say again S, nul, O-N-S, E-Z, E-N-T. Voila. So now that you know how to conjugate verbs in French for the regular group, all you need to know is that if you know the conjugation of one verb, for example, you did parler, you did finir from IR group, and you did vendre from the RE group, you will be able to conjugate all of the regular verbs of any particular category, putting the same exact endings. But what is important for you now is to know certain vocabulary related to verbs, because it is easy to conjugate a verb, but to know verbs is important. It is important to memorize that list of verbs. I'll give you a list of vocabulary verbs which you can memorize, which are very important as far as your daily life perspective is concerned, and also exam perspective. So these are the verbs that you can start with. So first of all, you have the er ending verbs. The first verb would be chanter. Chanter. So this means to sing or to chant. Please remember that each and every er ending verb will be pronounced as a in the end. The sound will come out as a in the end. So that is true for all of the verbs of this category. Now you have chercher, chercher, which means to search for, to look for, or to pick somebody. Next is commander, commander, which means to command or to order. Next is couper, couper, to cut. Danser, danser, to dance. Donner, donner, to give or to donate as well. Demander, demander, to ask for or to demand. Fermer, fermer, to close. Fumer, fumer, to smoke. Gagner, gagner, to earn or to win. Garder, garder, that is to keep. Before I move ahead, I would like to also highlight the fact that here in this list, I have put some verbs in blue and others in black. The simple reason for this being that it is easier to remember the blue verbs because they are close to English meanings already. So if you know English, it is easy for you to understand. You can just quickly, learn of these verbs and add them to your vocabulary and, kind of be more confident about knowing more verbs. And then you can slowly pick up the rest of the verbs and learn them. So you have jouer, that means to play. Jouer, jouer. Laver, laver, to wash. Monter, monter, to climb or to go up. Montrer, montrer, to show. Parler, parler, to speak or to talk. Penser, penser, to think. Porter, porter, to wear or to carry. Préparer, préparer, to prepare. Présenter, présenter, to introduce or to present. Refuser, refuser, to refuse. Regarder, regarder, to watch. Rester, rester is to stay. Here I have mentioned the word faux ami. Faux ami is actually a false cognate. This literally translates to a false friend. A faux ami is that word which gives an impression of being a particular meaning because you know English, but then it means something else. For example, here you might have an impression that rester might mean to rest, just like in English. No, it's not the case. In French, there are certain words which are considered faux amis. They are not the same meaning as in English, and hence you need to learn them separately. So, rester is to stay. Saluer, saluer, to greet. Tomber, tomber is to fall. Téléphoner, téléphoner, to telephone. Travailler, travailler, to work. That's another faux ami because it gives an impression of being to travel. However, it means to work. Trouver, trouver, to find. Visiter, visiter, to visit a place. Voler, voler, to fly or to steal. This meaning depends on the context of the conversation. Marcher, marcher, to walk. Poser, poser, to put or to place or to pose. Lutter, lutter, to fight. Fixer, fixer, to fix. Aimer, aimer, to like. Adorer, adorer, to love, to adore or to worship. Acheter, acheter, to buy or to purchase. Apporter, apporter, to bring. Accepter, accepter, to accept. Please mind you that this is not accepter, it's accepter, accepter, to accept. Ajouter, ajouter, to add. Aider, aider, to help. Annuler, annuler, to cancel. Appeler, appeler, to call. Assister, assister, to attend. Again, a faux ami because it gives an impression of being to assist, but it is not. It means to attend. So this is a faux ami. Entrer, entrer, to enter. Envoyer, envoyer, to send. Essayer, essayer, to try. Imaginer, imaginer, to imagine. Ignorer, ignorer, to ignore. Observer, observer, to observe. Oublier, oublier, to forget. Utiliser, utiliser, to use or to utilize. Organiser, organiser, to organize. Habiter, habiter, to live. Annoncer, annoncer, to announce. Avancer, avancer, to move further. Commencer, commencer, to start, to commence or to begin. Divorcer, divorcer, to divorce. Lancer, lancer, to launch or to throw. Menacer, menacer, to threaten or to menace. Placer, placer, to place. Prononcer, prononcer, to pronounce. Remplacer, remplacer, to replace. Arranger, arranger, to arrange. Changer, changer, to change. Corriger, corriger, to correct. Encourager, encourager, to encourage. Manger, manger, to eat. Loger, loger, to lodge. Partager, partager, to share. Voyager, voyager, to travel. Now we have a tiny little list for learning IR ending regular verbs. So let's go. Abolir, abolir, to abolish. Please mind you that all of the IR group verbs are going to be sounded as ir in the end when they are in their infinitive form. Abolir, to abolish. Accomplir, accomplir, to accomplish. Avertir, avertir, to warn. Finir, finir, to finish. Grandir, grandir, to grow up. Grossir, grossir, to gain weight. Investir, investir, to invest. Maigrir, maigrir, to lose weight. Mincir, mincir, to look slim. Nourrir, nourrir, to feed or to nourish. Punir, punir, to punish. And remplir, remplir, to fill. Now lastly, you have the tiny little list for RE ending regular verbs. So let's go. Descendre, descendre, to descend, to go down. Perdre, perdre, to lose. Entendre, entendre, to hear. Rendre, rendre, to give something back. Vendre, vendre, to sell. Répondre, répondre, to answer, to reply or to respond. Défendre, défendre, to defend. Dépendre, dépendre, to depend. Prétendre, prétendre, to claim or to pretend. Attendre, attendre, to wait for. Détendre, détendre, to relax. Confondre, confondre, to confuse. Correspondre, correspondre, to correspond. And finally, tordre, tordre, to twist. Voila, so that is about the list of regular verbs from the ER, IR, and the RE ending verbs. And you have also been explained the method to conjugate them and to put them correctly in sentences. I would like to highlight something here, that it is not possible to cover all of the vocabulary of any language in any course for that matter. You come across new verbs, you come across new words, and you learn alongside. But right now, the list of the verbs that I have provided to you is good for you to start with, and make sure to implement them in your sentences so that you can start with building blocks. You can be more confident and just relate it to your daily life. Imagine sentences instead of trying to translate everything. Just use them in your daily life sentences so that you can be more confident. Voila, that is it I had to tell you for today's session. Thank you for having watched it, and if you liked it, please like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for the next video. Merci, au revoir, bonne journée.